Right, if I can get my words out, all right. This is about the times we're living in and learning energy, learning our own energy, learning what's ours, what's not, learning about density and frequency, learning about the fact that anything that drops from our life is not personal vendettas or revenge or anything like that. It's vibrational match, frequency and alignment. And as we learn more about energy, we know how to discern better, to allow ourselves to move in certain spaces or not, and to allow certain people around us or not, and how to nourish ourselves, really. And this is not, I'm not a purist, but it is, everything has a frequency. And I'm getting the tangent coming through about sound and music, but the frequency in the music entertainment business, all that's a whole nother thing. But for the minute, I was just connecting with like foods and water and what we nourish ourselves with. The whole idea of like elevating in our own lives is to be the lightest we can be. Again, this is, we're going to stumble, we're going to be tempted by various things in the Babylon construct of, you know, like foodstuffs and stuff. But ultimately, when we're nourishing ourselves properly with wholesome foods, it's a high frequency. Our body is, it changes and it morphs. Our cells change and they support our mind and consciousness better. And there is no timeline on this, people. We get to it when we need to get to it, as we learn and study our own energy and the revelations and the downloads that we get on our own personal path and what we signed up for. But knowing how important the gut is to the mind and moods and various things, and there's an incredible download which I talk about a lot, is the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, the book, Dr. Natasha Campbell. There's a free download, and how our gut influences our brain and our mood and our energy and everything that we nourish ourselves with has a frequency. So without going round and round in a circle, is the reason why it's important to, especially if we get called to around certain dates or portals, and I'm not going into what people define as portals, but we'll get to call to fast, we'll get called to regulate our physical vessel, we'll get called to balance the internal microbiomes. And eating certain foods every day like weighs us down and it makes the work harder. This is what we are alive for. This is the work. It's not the physical world work, which we need to do to navigate and move in the ways that we do, which I talked about in the last video. But this is about the work that we incarnate for, how we align with our soul purpose, therefore like how we up level, upscale and maintain the frequency of our highest timeline, and how we maintain that. And obviously there's a level of not taking it so seriously, in that we're disciplined to a certain point, but I've laxed on certain things and diet and various things, because I don't believe in diets. I believe in listening to our bodies, knowing ourselves and our intuition and what we physically desire and need, and also not comparing. Like there's a lot of things about alkaline diets, and there's good in every holistic conscious way of looking at foods, but also our constitutions are so different that for me, like eliminating certain foods in the past, I actually found that was detrimental to my physical health and well-being. And this is the vessel that we incarnate in, and so ultimately looking after this is how we manifest things towards us in the physical realm. Like we may be at certain levels spiritually ranked and like spiritual royalty and have various things in the non-physical, but this is a physical reality that we live in for the most part, as we move around and astral travel or do what we need to do depending on the waking state and the sleep state. But it is important to look at our physical vessel and move. And, you know, as women, we said we store a lot of motion in our hips, and there's a lot of stuff going on now about root chakra, because I think there's a massive destabilization globally that, not I don't think, we know it's going on. It's not like I'm saying anything new here, I'm just sharing my version, my perspective, 515, on the unraveling of the times that we're living in right now. And as this sort of like destabilization happens, that is gonna hit people's root chakra in ways that have been unseen before, because we've been programmed to plan and dictate the ways we live in a very structured way, when it's not about that anymore. And root chakra, like eating for our grounding, the more plants, the more living foods we eat, that also helps our grounding. It's not like we need to go out and earth all the time and put our feet on the floor. Obviously that is fantastic if we can do that, but what we put inside of us is still also earthing and grounding us. If we're eating things from the soil, it helps us connect to the elemental realms. And as the shift in consciousness happens, like, a lot of us are going to start to learn and lean into and love these realms more, because of the energies that we feel from them, and that sometimes they're very playful and joyful and divine and really help us. It's not consistent, especially when you tap into certain past lives that have come from different knowledge bases, like esoteric occult knowledge, or I'm not going to go into that now. So, foods, time to be light, time to listen to our bodies. You know, we might get called to eat things once a month and then pull back. Like, I know that I'm really listening to myself in a different way, and I'm on a different land. So there's certain things that I was used to once that can't really source, but other things that I'm, you know, looking into and feeling really nourished and vitalized by it. And it is moving away from, I mean, I haven't eaten meat in many years. I think actually Jamaica and jerk chicken was probably the last time I had meat, if we don't consider fish, samaki, meat, that is even now disintegrating. Like, it is funny what you get called to. It's like, once we start to realise everything is living, but then people can say, well, don't eat plants because they're living as well. So where does there's a lot of judgment about people that eat meat, but everything's alive. So how we nourish ourselves is consciously, intuitively, I think is what's most important. And we can't really look to other people to do that. So many different cycles and seasons and stuff that is like dictating what we, not dictating, it's such a strong word, I don't know why that's coming in because of the collapse of structures, but so many things that are calling to us to nourish ourselves with. And at the minute as well, to be light. The lighter we are, the higher our frequency and consciousness can elevate, which means that we can get supported by other entities and energies of a higher vibration, which, you know, pulls us out of the lower realms of victimization and judgment of any kind, sex, race, all of the, you know, age, all the different divisions and separatist agendas that have been engineered by the construct. They're not real, so we can either feed into it or not, and fight for justice in ways that end up keeping us on a very low vibrational path, because it's a combative energy. But anyway, I want this to be about food and nourishment and keeping light, because I'm being called to, and it's not to come on here and say, oh, I'm fasting this week, because I don't fast all the time, but I do fast. I've learned the benefits and when to and when not to, and it is important for us. And ailments and various shifts in consciousness right now can be reduced, alleviated and washed away when we remove things from our physical vessel density. So there'll be loads of this stuff online. I'm not saying anything new, it's just my take and where my consciousness is at right at the minute. which is 959, changing like so many of us right now. And yeah, I'm getting sprouts a lot. I think it's because I'm doing less sprouts out here because the heat changes the way that we work in the kitchen. But yeah, sprouts, just look at the different food sources that might be best for you and our personal like constitutions right now. And yeah, try to maintain a sort of a detoxy lifestyle where possible, because it does help the vessel.